Hi there everyone. In this video, we're going to talk about how to subtract fractions with unlike denominators. So this is going to go hand in hand with days 3 and 4 of your e-learning packet. Okay, so we're going to start by taking a look at number 4 on the second page of day 3, week number 2. And then we're going to switch and we're going to look at number 4 on day 4 of week number 2. Okay, so as you can see in both of these problems, they have unlike denominators. So that's why I'm choosing those ones to look at. We're going to talk about the process of how to find a common denominator and how to go about solving them. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull our problem up here so that we can get to work. Okay, so number 4 on day 3 looks like this: 3/4 minus 7/10. Okay, so the first thing we have to do to solve a fraction subtraction problem when there are unlike denominators is find a common denominator. Okay, we need to make this bottom number the same. So one thing that I always like to check for first is I like to see, can my smaller denominator fit into the larger one? Unfortunately, it cannot. So we're going to have to go ahead and list out the multiples, okay, which is okay. Just takes a little bit more time. Okay, so I'm going to start by listing out the multiples of 4, or in other words, by counting by 4s. Okay, so we have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for 10 until I find a multiple that they have in common. Okay, so we have 10, 20. Look at that. We already have a number that these two have in common. Okay, it would be 20. All right, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to multiply 3/4 times 5/5 because I had to multiply 4 by to get 20. Okay, so my lowest common multiple here is 20. That is the lowest number that both 4 and 10 evenly divide into. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take 3/4 times 5/5 because I need that denominator to equal 20. And as we found out by listing our multiples, 4 times 5 gives me 20 because it was times 1, times 2, times 3, times 4, times 5. Okay, and what we do to the bottom, we also have to do to the top. So 4 times 5 gives us 20 as our denominator. 3 times 5 gives us 15 for the numerator. Okay, so that fraction is going to be 15/20. Now, what do we have to multiply 10 by to get 20? Okay, as you can see here, we have to multiply 10 by 2 to get 20. Okay, so I'm going to take 7/10 times 2/2. Okay, so I'm going to have you start thinking. We know that 10 times 2 is 20. What is 7 times 2? If you said 14, you would be correct. So this fraction now becomes 14/20. Okay, 14/20 is an equivalent fraction for 7/10. 15/20 is an equivalent fraction for 3/4. I apologize. So I'm going to rewrite my subtraction problem now as 15/20 minus 14/20. Okay, so 15/20 minus 14/20. Now, when I subtract fractions, the denominator has to stay the same. Okay, when I add or subtract fractions, the denominator always stays the same. So we know the bottom number is going to be 20. What we really need to solve for, though, is that numerator. We got to take 15 minus 14. Okay, 15 minus 14 is 1. So my answer to this problem is going to be 1/20, or 1 over 20, right? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write that fraction in my answer spot. That is the work for how to solve a subtraction problem with unlike denominators. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at another problem on day number 4. This problem also has unlike denominators, but the instructions for this page ask us to draw a model to help solve. So I'm going to teach you how to do that, right? So if we look at our problem here, it has 2/5 minus 1/10. As we can see by how they rewrote it, we already know that our common denominator is going to be 10. We know that 5 fits into 10. So our first step is going to be to figure out what goes here when we make the denominator 10. Okay, so to do that, we have to figure out how many times does 5 fit into 10. Well, if I think about my math facts, I know that 5 fits into 10 twice. So that means that I have to take 5 times 2 to find 10. Okay, so I already set it up down here. I took 2/5, this fraction right here, times 2 over 2, because I know that that will give me a denominator of 10. Okay, now what does 2 times 2 give me? What is my numerator going to be? If you said 4, you would be correct. Okay, so we can rewrite this problem now as 4/10, or this fraction is 4/10. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put it up here. Now we're solving for 4/10 minus 1/10. Okay, now like I said, the problem asks you to solve it using a model. So, as you can see down here at the bottom of the screen, I have set up a model for us. Since our denominator is 10, I drew one long rectangle and divided it into 10 even parts. Okay, because now this rectangle shows me tenths. So I'm going to start by shading in the first number in my subtraction problem, the bigger number, okay, which is 4/10. So I'm going to shade in 4 of these boxes, or 4/10 of this whole rectangle. Now I'm going to take away 1/10 because it says minus 1/10. Okay, so to do that, I'm just going to cross it out. Okay, just draw an X through it. We're getting rid of it. Okay, we're not counting that. To find the answer, we have to count the number of shaded sections that we have left. Okay, so that would be 1, 2, 3. Right? We have 3 shaded sections left. Okay, so my answer to 4/10 minus 1/10 is going to be 3/10. We can do that through simple subtraction like this, or as the instructions ask us here, we can also do it through a model. Right? I hope that helped to clear up any confusion over those problems. If you have any questions, please let me know. But in the meantime, good luck and stay safe.